music, Windswept. My real name is Zach Kernshnall, and I've been producing for about 13 years now. I do a range of music. I specialize in electronica, hip-hop, film scores. I have a background working with one of the programming teams for Hans Zimmer. They go by the name Sculpture Music, and that's Eamon Welly, Arnone, and Dino Herman, and I've been working with them for a long time as well. And Eamon Welly put me on to a lot of the technical aspects of production. This is my rig right here. This is basically, there's two setups here. This is the production side, where all the music is created, and over here is the live DJ rig side, where I do all my club events. I can also use that for what's called rewiring, which is when you take a piece of music and you do more effects to it, and then you take it and you put it back into the studio. Basically, in terms of gear here, you got pretty much everything you need. Everything is high definition in the studio. We're working with #1 sound cards in the world, the Rosetta system, Rosetta 800. Bottom is the Big Ben. This is the new word clock, and it handles everything from the timing of all the instruments in the audio to the way that the bass and the kick come together. So it creates a much more professional sound than if you just had a high quality sound card by itself. Above it here is the Rosetta 800. It's a world-renowned sound card. You'll find it in the studios of major producers like Craig Armstrong, David Guetta, Paul Van Dyke. All these guys use the Rosetta system. And above that is my Slave sound card. My Motu 828 it's basically just like a hub, and it's just a driver. And it communicates with the computer for the Rosetta and the Big Ben.
Right.
Above that is my mastering board. It's the API 2500. It's a world-renowned mastering board. It's a master bus. And above that, up here, I don't have it turned on right now because we're not cutting any vocals. Right. But this guy right here is the LA610 by Universal Audio. It's a revamp of one of the most famous classic vocal preamps that Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra used to use back in the day. So that's my I/O system and my vocal compression system. Now, all this is running through my SPL box, which is basically the hub for the speakers, also known as monitors. The SPL box system also communicates with the vocal booth. You can show people the vocal booth later.
Cool.
And basically, it allows for monitoring. It allows for communication with the artist, and a lot of other cool features. Obviously, right here we have what looks like a very high-end technical keyboard.
Yeah, it's a bad boy there.
It's actually not that technical. It's actually just a hub controller. I'm a very program module-based producer.
Right.
So I don't really care too much about the keyboard being filled with sounds and with high-end variables. I do all my variable control based in automation. So it's really just a big, pretty box with keys on it. But it is capable of doing lots of stuff and everything that you would need it to do. This right here is my big bad boy for my mixing. This is the Mackie controller by eMagic. This basically gives you a physical representation and full physical control over everything that's going on inside of Logic. So everything is free floating. Everything allows for automation and control, and that's really cool. This is called the Arturia Origin.
Wow.
It's one of the top
take a look at this guy.
Hardware synth systems right now on the market. It's been popular by a lot of different programmers. What it allows you to do is, instead of synths being emulated by modules internally as software, which is actually really still a very high quality way of making sound. What I love about the Origin is different aspects. One is that it allows for you to control a variable with this joystick system.
Wow.
And it has a lot of power, a lot of range, and a lot of dynamics. It's also a live tool, though I haven't explored that as much because it's like a very pricey instrument, so it's not one of those things that you really feel like taking on the road all the time unless you had like a secondary one. But you can do two things with it live. You can do all the same synth lines and things that I've already created. I can sync them with Traktor. And this has a tone-to-tone ARP system right here where I can adjust the BPM on the fly, and that would allow me to basically have sections of my music live where I go into a drum pattern, for example. I mix out of one track, and before I mix into another track, I could be doing live sequences with the Arturia. So I'm excited about that in the future. For some of my shows, I'm going to be into that.
Between the experiences of DJing and live and then recording in the studio, with the equipment and sounds, what are the major differences or challenges that you think?
Well, I think that it requires, I think being a really good DJ, you need to be a really good producer and vice versa. I think that, in my opinion, obviously I'm a little biased, I feel like the best DJs in the world are also producers because they are understanding what has gone into the music that they're DJing, and they are often a lot more clever about making really complex transitions because they have an ear to production.
Yeah.
DJing to me is like that's the celebration of the hard work. The best thing is being able to take your new music and load it into the DJ rig and take that to the club and perform it. But that only comes after the hard work of getting it to sound professional, getting it to sound mixed right, and always remembering you're going up against, juggernauts in this industry, Deadmau5, Wolfgang Gartner, Tiesto. These are the guys that I'm, competing with, and so my sound not only has to be on their level, but in my opinion has to excel past their level. This is the full system, but I don't always have to have all of this. The hub of my live system, I personally feel that the VCI system here, along with running things through Traktor Pro, offers the most amount of creativity. Obviously, I have CDJs, the classic old school style mixing, which I use sometimes, but I actually think that CDJs are incredibly limited. There's a lot of argument in the industry. A lot of this is a big thing that people debate about, like real DJing, you have to be manual with vinyl or CDJs. I think that's completely outrageous. Personally, I feel like there's more manual and technical control with the VCI. So that's where it offers a lot